All right, Shalom to the household of faith, the Lord's elect. I want to give all glory, praise, and honor that's due to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, Rahal Kakwadash. In this lesson, we're going to go into the news, some current events, current rumors. There's a bunch of things happening. Lord willing, I'm going to crank these up more often just to stay hip to things going on and things that are escalating in the ethos. And I'm going to start off with a bunch of things that I got lined up. We'll start with, I go from down on up. So basically, you have the king of Babylon, President Donald Trump, who's sending federal agents to, various cities, so-called Democratic left cities, which this is a term being thrown around a lot. And when you think about the left wing, you think about liberals, you think about Antifa, Black Lives Matter, black people, because you look at blacks, they have this religious devotion to voting Democrat. Like they used to say when I was younger, vote blue no matter who. And, all these, everything time something happened, Donald Trump is talking about the left. Matter of fact, when you look at the shutdown, right, government shutdown, hold on. This ain't the one I wanted. Is this it? Yeah. So this is from USA Today. It says it's day 6 of the government shutdown, and lawmakers aren't any closer to an agreement on reopening a swath of federal agencies and services. This is the point. President Donald Trump over the weekend continued to blame the Democrats for Congress's failure to reach a funding deal, bringing up the topic during an event to honor the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Navy in Norfolk, Virginia. So he's continuing to blame the left side, which again, who's associated with the left and blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. This could also be code for you as well. So it's just the left, the two horns like a lamb. That will speak as a dragon, Revelation 13:11. And it's going to speak as a dragon because something is going to come from all of this, the left, the Democratic cities, the violence in Chicago. Something's going to come from this, and it's going to be what? The dragon, the fire, the draconian, the harsh penalties, no more playing games with people, no more doing what you want to do, getting on the internet, going about your life. No, digital ID, super duper surveillance on everything, shutting people out, rounding people up, putting people to death eventually, because that's also in the Revelation 13 chapter, the 15th verse on down as well. So, you got that. So Donald Trump has agents going to Chicago and Portland. And so, there's protests, rebellions. Chicago mayor creates ice-free zones to block federal agents from city property, right? Trump claims Portland is burning while federal agents escalate ICE protest response. Trump orders National Guard to Portland, Oregon. And so that's what we're speaking of. And one thing I looked up, when you look at these so-called, these bad, dangerous, murderous crime cities, the top 10 cities, I might need to get this link, but just on the AI overview, the top 10 cities in the United States with the highest crime rates in 2025 include Memphis, which he's going there, St. Louis, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Detroit, Michigan, Kansas City, Missouri, New Orleans, Louisiana, Cleveland, Ohio, Birmingham, Alabama, and Houston, Texas. Memphis ranks as the most dangerous city, particularly noted for high rates of violent crime, which he's going, but he ain't mentioning none of these other cities, but he say he's going one by one. But, we'll see. According to this link, realestate.us news, you got Memphis is number 1, Oakland is number 2, St. Louis number 3, Baltimore number 4, Detroit number 5, Alexandria, Louisiana, what? Number 6, Cleveland, Ohio, New Orleans, Monroe, Louisiana. And it's all just, some of this is subjective, some of it is whatever, But one thing they're not talking about is this economy, because there is a correlation between crime and poverty. not being able to afford anything, like they showed you in the movie Trading Places, right? If you hadn't seen it, Trading Places, the 1983 film, right, directed by John Landis and written by Timothy Harris. Blah, 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 blah. The film tells the story of an upper-class commodities broker and a poor street hustler whose lives cross when they are unwittingly made the subjects of an elaborate bet to test how each man will perform when their life circumstances are swapped. So when the rich become poor and the poor become rich, what will they do? And there's a bet. The bet is, well, when the rich become poor, he's going to result to the same acts that the poor was doing, which is, stealing, lying, deceiving. These acts are associated with poverty a lot of times. Not only poverty, but a lot of times poverty will bring these elements out of you. And they don't address that, but because that's not prophetic anyway, and these people are devils anyway. So moving on with this news, you got the UK talking about the digital ID. They're saying that every working adult is gonna have to have it, or you just won't be able to work. Simple and plain. And you getting protests and rebellions in the UK. Let's see, UK protests, which this is scriptural. What's happening too in the world? How everybody's resisting and fighting back and protesting. Not when I don't mean everybody, but just a lot of places are acting. So when you go to 2 Esdras 9 and 3, it says, therefore, we'll start at 2. Start at 1. He answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself. And when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. And why are there so many uproars? Let's go to Proverbs 29 and 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. So there's these uproars because of mourning, because you have a wicked rulership that is basically got the world in a yoke. Got all of life's God's creation in a chokehold. And so everything and everyone is mourning. Right? So you got the protests in UK. Daily Express 10 hours ago, sickening protest plan for October. No. UK says it will restrict repeated protests after 500 arrested pro. So you got the pro-Palestine protests. Protest digital ID. But I think they have a digital ID protest too. Because this is going to be a big step toward this draconian system when all this stuff go digital. When these cameras are able to scan you and link you your biometrics to an account and start penalizing you in real time. UK Digital ID 2025 poses significant risk. Here's why protesters are opposing Starmer's BRIC card. Pub named the George Orwell in digital ID protests. Government responds after 2.7 million people signed petition to scrap digital ID cards. Okay. And this can go another way too. They could. Well, we'll see what happens. I don't even know. We'll see what happens. The government has dismissed a petition with more than 2.7 million signatures calling for digital ID cards to be scrapped. Yeah, they gonna do it, man. And that's why they're doing what they're doing with resources. They prices keep going up. The prices continue to increase. Making things unaffordable, utilities, housing costs, building costs, wood, for homes, taxes, all these things keep increasing to bring perplexity amongst the people, so that when they do this, you just give up, you get faint, right? Let's go to Sirach 4. Sirach 4, and then I'm going to go to Luke 21. Sirach 4. Or is it Sirach 2? Sirach 2 and 12. Woe be to the fearful hearts and faint hands, and the sinner that goeth two ways. Woe unto him that is faint-hearted, for he believeth not, therefore he shall not be defended. Yeah, and they want people faint-hearted. They want the earth to lack faith, leading up to the coming of the Son of Man, because ultimately that's what Satan wants you to happen. It wants to happen to you. He wants you to lose faith, like he tried to do Yahushua. This is Luke 18:8. I tell you that he will avenge them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? And see, in this world is becoming barren of faith, save the elect. 2 Ezra 5:1, nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the day shall come, the day which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number. Right, and they're being taken, in their minds via these psyops, but great and mass death is coming as well. It says, and the way of truth shall be hidden, right, because of censorship, digital ID, etc. It says, and the land shall be barren of faith. All right, when something is barren, what does that mean? It says, and the land shall be barren of faith, right? Barren of faith. It says, not producing or incapable of producing offspring, right? Unfruitful. So not producing. So the land isn't gonna bring. And the land represents people. The people are not gonna be producing faith, right? So, but I also wanted to get Luke 21, and then we'll go back to the news. So Luke 21. And it should be 25. And there should be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth. Distress of nations. Distress. With perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. So there's distress of the nations, right? There's distress. People are saying, no, we don't want this. And people are already hurting that. They're like, what the fuck do we need a digital? How about getting us some resources? How about cutting these costs down? How about making things affordable? How about giving us a break? How about cutting down taxes? How about, but they're not going to do that. So with that, let's transition here, because it says signs in the suns and in the moon. So let's go here, because you have October's harvest supermoon will appear over New York City tonight. So you have the supermoon. It says the October 2025 supermoon will light up the skies over New York City on Monday night. The first alert weather team has everything to know. So what is a supermoon? A supermoon occurs when the moon orbits closest to the sun. So it appears slightly larger and brighter, like on Bruce Almighty, when Bruce got that power and then he threw that rope on the moon and brought it closer to woo his girl or whatnot. So this will be the first supermoon of the year. But if you miss it, there are two more coming up in November and December. So it's just another sign in the heavens. Luke 21:25, there should be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars. And upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity of seeing the waves roaring simultaneously. So while there's distress on the nations and perplexity goes in the lack of resources, wanting in lack. It says that, there'll be signs in the heavens, pretty much. Scripture says, be ye not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. So these are actually good for us. These are good signs. Okay, so let's go. What else is happening out here, man? Because I wanted to start with Ezekiel, and maybe we'll get back to it. But you got the government shutdown stuff, which I think we brought out something on that. Yeah, Donald Trump blaming the left, right? And this affects passports, flights. Let's see what it's talking about with that. Pay has been suspended for roughly 2 million federal workers, and roughly 750,000 workers remain on furlough following the funding lapse that began at the start of the new fiscal year on October 1st. Other works considered essential to public safety and national security, such as troops and air traffic control workers, are still required to work without pay. God damn. Man, my stepdad was an air traffic control. They make good money, man. The Trump administration has already reduced the federal workforce by more than 200,000 employees, according to the Partnership for Public Service. With the shutdown soon to enter its second week, attention returns to the Senate on Monday. Voters are expected again on a pair of bills to reopen the government, though both measures are likely to fail absent a compromise. The House remains on recess until October 14th. Very good things can happen. Trump talks healthcare with Democrats. So in the midst of everything going on, like, it's always something, man. That's why the faith of Yahweh Shema Shine the Truth, man, is so essential right now. Because otherwise, this shit will make you go mad, man. This shit'll make you go mad. But, people ain't really bugging out like that. Because you still got social media, man. People still get caught in a trance with scrolling down, the reels and the timeline and stuff like that. So that's a big dope. And plus that releases dopamine when you do that. So people are still getting dopamine hits like that to kind of quell them, So moving on, you got Russia, NATO, World War III algorithm. A NATO ally says Russia physically pointed weaponry at its warships and helicopters in strategic waters. Okay. It said there have been many incidents in strategic waters, including a warship anchored there. Denmark, among other allies, is describing an escalating hybrid war by Russia. NATO member Denmark said Russia has repeatedly threatened its warships and helicopters in its waters, including by pointing weaponry at them. All right, so we're going to see. We know Russia ain't finna do shit yet, but, just showing you that energy is still there where it's something, continuously. And you got Weon. NATO opens new command center in Finland near Russian border. So this is the proverbial poking of the bear. They keep on, doing things. Russia made it known they don't want NATO to keep getting close to its border, and it keeps on trying to expand and do things close to Russia's land. So, eventually the Most High going to put that evil thought in them, and it's going to pop off. Right? So I think I'm going to end. Oh, then speaking of Chicago, you have this Chicago alderwoman, Jessie Fuentes. So basically a politician. She was taken away in cuffs. She, looked like the typical stud. They put her in cuffs. She asked for a warrant. She handled it quite well. But video from Citizen app shows Fuentes asking for the warrant, saying the man had constitutional rights. She says agents then put her in handcuffs and later released her when she challenged the ICE agents, asking what law she was breaking for her detainment. So, yeah, she was meddling when somebody else was getting, who was being dealt with. Chicago alderwoman Jessie Fuentes, 26 Ward, says she was handcuffed and threatened by federal agents inside a Humboldt Park hospital for asking agents if they had a warrant for a patient inside. Fuentes was joined by dozens of people, including other elected leaders outside the hospital, demanding that the U.S. ICE let an immigration attorney speak with the undocumented man inside. And all of this stuff is driving that big old wedge. But you notice that when you think about when they talk about undocumented and immigrants, it's always the Latin tribes. They're not talking about Chinese and Haitians and Africans. It's always the tribes. All right, because this goes to the tribes. It's always going to be aimed at you because the devil is ready to come down with great wrath. So we'll get that in there. I didn't get that Ezekiel. Maybe I might open the next one with that. But this is Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. It's only a short time left. The joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. Let me make sure I got all the little news articles. Pray this was edifying. Matter of fact, I gotta close with that because it's just a bunch of rumors. And when I looked up that word rumors, it goes into news. So this is Ezekiel 7. And this is the point. This is the points 25 and 26. Destruction cometh. Yeah, Babylon is about to be destroyed, just like back then it was talking about the temple. It says, and they shall seek peace, and there shall be none. Right, because in these times we entering, these hard-headed ass rascals, they're gonna want peace. They're gonna want peace of mind, peace of land, peace of property, peace, and it won't be none. Right. It says, mischief shall come upon mischief, and rumor shall be upon rumor. So it's news upon news. Like the news isn't slacking up, because the prophecies, the plagues, everything, they're not slacking. It says, then shall they seek a vision from the prophet, because eventually they're gonna, those messages of the Hebrew Israelite street teachings are gonna come to people's minds. It says, but the law shall perish from the priests and counsel from the ancients. The Lord is gonna silence the men of the Lord and hide them. Right, like the scripture said, the truth shall be hidden. That's part of the truth being hidden. Also, we brought that out in 2 Edges 5. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close there, man. We'll continue on tomorrow, Lord will.